here with Sun Devil Hall of Famer Nathan LaDuke, also from Arizona, played high school football here at Alhambra before coming to ASU to play football as well. So we're going to touch on a wide range of things today, but when you look back at your time in high school, what comes to mind for you here in Arizona?
Well, one, it's a long time ago. That's what first comes to mind. And my body's feeling like I could never do that ever again, and I probably couldn't. Just fond feelings. Playing football so on a day-to-day basis, practicing football is not that fun. You're out there smashing into each other, and in order to do it right, you actually have to have a lot of contact, and there are a lot of the drills and things that you do in practice that aren't that fun. Now, there's some things that are fun. They're competitive. You cover one-on-one. You do 7-on-7s. You're not doing as much hitting, and those things are fun. But just generally speaking, I would say that football is not the most fun sport to practice. And so where you have the fun is when you win. When the effort comes together on Friday night and all of you and your teammates do the right things more often than the other team, and you come away with a win, and then that's just a feeling of elation. So,
was Arizona State always your dream school, or was that something that just kind of happened as you were going through the recruiting process?
I think it was just something that happened going through the recruiting process. I got recruited by a lot of schools in the country, and I had never, I didn't grow up necessarily being an ASU fan. I think most of us who lived on the west side of town over there, I don't know that many of us were coming to college football games at all. And so I know I didn't. And so when I started getting recruited by all the schools, that was the first opportunity I'd ever had to even go to a college football game. And I do remember specifically, there was one time where we were in the room with a lot of other recruits, and the recruiting coordinator for ASU actually used me as, we're the type of program that is recruiting guys like Nathan LaDuke. And I think at that point I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I all of a sudden had this affinity for the program because he had said that. And so I think as the recruiting process went on, and the way that I was recruited and the guys I was recruited by, which are Don Bakke and Larry Marmee, I just think that they were honest and they had integrity and they just did it the right way. And Don Bakke, he spent the majority of his time out there in Phoenix Union in the West Phoenix area, recruiting a lot of really good players, and you had to do the work to do that. And so he did, and we could feel his sincerity and ultimately his love, and so it was a great decision that I made to come here. So.
And once you did get here, what are some of the things when you look back on that really stand out to you? I know there's probably so many memories and so many fun times, but what are some of the things that you look back on and smile a little bit?
Well, I mean, it's hard to remember everything because I probably have CTE going on right now, and I say that kind of kidding.
Right.
You know what? I think that the older I get, the more sentimental I get, and the more I kind of forget about the actual games, and you just remember the feelings in the locker room and the camaraderie. And I think the most fun times for all of us are when we get to gather again. And so it's actually really exciting that we get to gather at this luncheon, and it's a little bit like a family reunion. And it will span, different decades, and it's just a cool experience. And I know that whenever I make it out to a game and I see some of my former teammates, we all just have a great feeling and great time together. And I don't really even think any of us are thinking specifically about the football games. It's just those relationships that we built by kind of sacrificing and doing all these same difficult things that cause us to have that kind of affinity for one another. So.
And you mentioned the luncheon, obviously the ASU Legends Luncheon coming up November 22nd. I think you've been a part of a couple of those, right? Different.
I have been fortunate. Yeah, I think there was one a couple years ago that was the defensive Legends, and that was a really fun experience. And a lot of my teammates were on that. In that luncheon as well, and so that was really fun to be part of that. And I can't remember if there was another one, but yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's a cool experience, and it's really fun, and it's such a great thing that they're doing to be able to, recognize us and still make us feel like we're part of it, and and it's just great.
And what's it like to know that, with this one, it's going to be guys that played high school football here, played college here at ASU, and now you look at today, you've got a Arizona alumni, ASU alumni, Kenny Dillingham, being the head coach, and he's bringing that as a focus again. That it's something that's maybe been lacking in previous regimes. I mean, what's it like to kind of see this full circle moment happening?
Well, when he first came aboard, and just talking about going after Arizona kids, it made me very excited because I've always felt like Arizona got a little bit of the bad end of the stick. Over the years, I think that the Arizona football just keeps getting better and better as our population keeps growing and keeps growing. And on an annual basis, I think we're sending anywhere from 35 to 50 kids to Division I schools, but we're not getting very many of them to stay home. And I've heard this whole excuse about the kids don't like to stay here; they want to go experience something different. And my feeling on that is, kids go where they're wanted. Kids go where you make them feel like they can make a difference in the program, and where they can have an impact, and where you can help them become all that they want to be. They don't care if it's in their backyard or if it's in Michigan or if it's at Ohio State. It makes no difference. They go where they feel the most love and they feel like they're most wanted. And in some situations, the roster has to make sense of who's there already and all that. But I'm just so glad that he's put the emphasis more on that, and that we're embracing Arizona. And I feel like just naturally as a result of those efforts, you build an internal support system by all the people that have already been fans of these kids in high school. And then that grows. And so I think I don't know why it's taken 40 years for somebody to come up with that. But I'm very glad that he has, and I think it's working. And not that the entire roster has to be Arizona, but also if you look back and you think about the only 2 times that we've gone to the Rose Bowl, the roster was littered with Arizona kids, and those teams. And I would argue that 1987 team might be one of the best college football teams ever assembled, where I think 22 of the 22 starters went to the pros. So, and that whole line was from Arizona, and lots of the great players were from Arizona. So it's not a bad idea to stay in your own backyard, and then sprinkle in all the places where your coaches have relationships in other geographies. And it doesn't mean that you can't mix it up, but the Arizona kid is also, I think, going to be more stable and more centered. And he has a support system that's always going to be there. And so he's not going to be so transient and maybe not so looking to leave at the drop of a hat or whatever. So anyway, I'm super excited about that philosophy, and it clearly looks like it's paying dividends in the second year, and hopefully we can just keep progressing from here. So.
And especially in a recruiting world where it's crazy, I know you've gotten to get a little bit of a taste of that with your son, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Is at Utah now, correct?
Well, so he's on a mission right now, and ultimately he got a preferred walk-on offer at the University of Utah. So we'll see what happens in a couple years when he comes back. And you never know. He may find himself over here. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you never know, right? And that's the beauty of it too. I mean, we talk about it. I've talked about Kenny so many times. A lot of times, okay, maybe they are the kid that wants to go travel and do something, or they have something important like a mission to go do. Eventually, they might be able to find their way back here. The portal has that sort of beauty, and when you're constantly keeping those relationships open, you never know.
And mom and dad have an influence on that too. We can sometimes sway our kids' thinking as well.
I miss you. I miss having dinner with you a couple nights a week.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Last thing I really got for you then, obviously, people recognize you around the community and see you, but where are they most likely to find Nathan LaDuke nowadays? What are you up to?
Well, I have 5 kids, and we're raising them. I have a great wife who has really kind of taken the lead on that. I'm at a point in my kind of life career where I'm not quite as busy working anymore, and so I'm able to spend a lot more time with my kids. I've been volunteering over at American Leadership Academy in Queen Creek on the football staff on the varsity for the last 4 years, and that's a lot of fun, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But other than that, 5 kids keeps you busy, and it doesn't really give me the chance to come to as many ASU games as I want to. We usually can only make it to one a year because just the way that the schedules are, and where sometimes the games are in the daytime, and kids have football games, and et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I don't have, I'm not a social media guy. I just haven't ever really, so I can't say, you can find me on this or whatever.
Right.
but yeah, you're not going to probably see me too many places other than doing stuff with my family. So that's about it.
All right, Nathan LaDuke,
Hey,
appreciate the time.
thank
Catch
you.
him at the ASU Sun Devil Legends Luncheon coming up November 22nd. You can get tickets and check out him and all the other local talent that is going to be there as ASU Legends.
Thank you.